Hello everybody, it's Emma Langton here and I'm popping on today to talk to you about World Mental Health. So, what is it about World Mental Health that's so important? What is it that you want to know and how can it help you? Okay, so I wanted to be able to talk to you today about this subject because it has been nominated as being today is a day that we can look at this, that we can think about this. So why is it so important? Well, you know, mental health is the kind of it can be really severe and it can be mild and moderate. It can be where we are affected in a kind of long-term way and also in a short-term way as well. 1 in 4, there are some figures that are saying 1 in 5, but 1 in 4 people in the UK certainly are affected by mental health at some point in their lives. Now, that means that we might feel the stress, the pressure, the anxiety, you know, at particular times. But it also might mean that we can feel that way for a lot of the time in our lives, or even what might feel like all the time, okay? So in my business, I talk to people, and when I do inquiry calls, and I might say to them, you know, when did you first notice that you felt this stress or this anxiety? And they'll say, it feels like I've had it forever, okay? Which means it's pretty much as long as they can remember. Now, unless we're born with it, then we can change it. That's the really important thing that you need to know. It might feel like those stresses, those anxieties, those worries that mental health has been around forever. That's not necessarily true. And I'm not dissing this, but what I'm saying is that maybe when you were kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 years old, it possibly wasn't there. If you had some early life experiences, you know, that were really, really difficult, obviously I talk about that a lot, having 2 adopted children, but then, you know, there may be some factors that contribute to that. However, even when it feels like it's been around forever, often it might start in somebody's teenage years, so it's not quite forever. But if you're not born with it, then you can change it, all right? So why is mental health a bit of a problem? Well, there's still a big stigma about it. You know, we grow up learning about society expectations, about people, what people teach us from our authority figures. And so there is this stigma, you know, there was that stigma, you don't talk about the war. There was lots of negative terminology around mental health. People were put in lunatic asylums is what they were called, and then people were labelled lunatics. But that's not necessarily it, okay? That we can just have long-term and serious stress and anxiety where it does affect our ability to function in our everyday life. It affects the way we feel. It affects how much we can go about and do things on a daily basis, all right? But we have this stigma that it's not good to talk about it, that people might think that we're weak or that we're not, that we can't function very well or that we're not quite good enough, okay? And that's not necessarily true, okay? And what does good enough look like anyway, really? The other thing that I notice with people that come and see me, whether that's for the hypnotherapy or for the coaching aspect, when I get people that were running their own businesses or working in business tend to come for coaching, and they don't want to go to their GP. They don't want to report it. They don't want it kind of on their record. So they want to look for other ways to get help and support with this. All right. An awful lot of people don't go to the GP because they don't want medication, and they're under the firm belief that GPs are just going to give them medication and I don't want to just take tablets. Okay. Now, I'm not going to talk here about whether that's right or wrong. I'm just talking about what I know and what I notice in people. All right. So this year, the theme for World Mental Health Day is about mental health in the workplace. Now, whether that you're working in your own business, as I do, and with a lot of people that I work with, you know, on entrepreneurs, or whether that's in small businesses or large businesses, you know, where I've come from and the people that I work with, then it can affect us in all sorts of different ways. So this year, there's quite a big focus on mental health in the workplace. There's a massive percentage of our working hours that are spent at work, you know. So the experiences that we have at work, whatever type of work that is, but the experiences that we have at work can have a huge impact on us, on our daily life, on the way that we think, the way that we feel, and the way that we function. All right? So we really do need to take that into account. We need to take that into account for us personally, but also professionally. If you are a manager or you have a team around you, you know, or you own a company as well, you really need to be thinking about it. What happens is that people begin to struggle. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want other people to know about it. And so they try and help themselves, if you like, to feel better. What's known in the terminology is kind of self-medicating. So people will go home and have a glass of wine, and that glass of wine increases and increases, you know, or they, you know, they may be smoking too much, that, you know, they're drinking too much, they may be using recreational drugs, they may be using herbal remedies, they may be seeking other ways of getting this sort of help. And what all of that does, actually, is it doesn't really improve the problem. It's just like putting a sticking plaster on the top of it and kind of covering it up temporarily. But it's not dealing with what's going on underneath. Do you see? Okay, so what I want to talk to you about is how we can help you to feel better with what's going on underneath. And what that means, firstly, is that you need to look after you. No one else in the world, no one else on this planet is going to put you first any more than you do. And for some of us, that's really, really difficult. For some of us that are people pleasers, or that, you know, really push ourselves, that want to do well, or that want to be viewed favourably, that can be really, really difficult to put ourselves first. So if you really, really struggle with that, I'd suggest that you do get some help somewhere from someone and go and talk to people. Okay? But begin to think about where you can put yourself first. It doesn't have to be all the time. It doesn't have to be with a complete disregard of everybody else. But it can be little pockets where you put yourself first. You begin to improve your own well-being. If you don't like the term mental health, if you don't like thinking that you've got stress and anxiety, just think about it's your own overall well-being. Okay? So you can do these things by taking a break. And if you're going to come back at me straight away with, oh, I haven't got time to do that, okay, just have a little think about how much time you're going to take off. If this gets too much, how much time you're going to take off your business and your job, you know, how much time is that going to take? And what's the overall effect of that as well, so that you get a bit of a balancing out thing. So take a break, you know, take a lunch break so that you actually stop and eat your lunch. Because, you know, if you're not taking a lunch break and you're not eating properly, you're going to end up with other problems. So go for a walk. Go for a walk without your phone. Go for a walk without the earplugs in. You know, just give yourself that opportunity to clear your head, to let your thoughts sort of mill around while you're just walking. You know, the action of walking and thinking is really, really helpful for you to just enable things to be clearer. I saw somebody post recently on one of my posts about, you know, they started to take in a little bit of time out for them, and that they were going to Pilates, and they were doing this and doing that, and they had this set aside at one morning a week. And then they realised that they were so much more creative and they could think so much more clearly than they did when they previously just kept their head down and were working away all the time. Right? It's amazing just how much clearer you can think when you take that little bit of time out. Spending time in nature, spending time in fresh air, getting out in proper daylight is also really good for you. It's really calming, it's really helpful. so that you can come back in the afternoon feeling so much more refreshed. It doesn't have to be long. 15, 20-minute walk, you know, to the sandwich shop and back or something like that. A quick walk around the block, depending on how where your business is and how it is for you. So take that lunch break, you know, so that you, and think of it, instead of thinking about it, that it's, whether you don't have time for it, think about, I'm going to go and clear my head, so that you can come back and be really focused, you know, and really kind of get your head down again in the afternoon, feeling a bit more refreshed. So often it's about how you think about it. So you're changing that little bit of way you think about it. Okay. Learn to say no. Learn to say no with ease. This is a big thing that I work with people. It is about boundaries. It is about structure. But when you say no to people, when somebody's, can you just do this, and can you just do that, and somebody else's, can you just do this, and somebody else's, can you just do that, and that might be just in the workplace, but you might have all of that in the workplace, and then you might have somebody at school PTA going, can you just make some buns for this, and can you just come and help with that, and then somebody else is saying, can you do this, and can you do that. Be factual. Be factual and honest, and say, not right now. So that you're saying no. If you put in loads of excuses, then what you're doing is you're giving people evidence, and they have an opening to kind of wheedle their way in with lots of, oh, but it won't take very long at all. Oh, but it'll just be quick. Oh, but it's only a one-off. Okay? So then they do a little guilt trip thing on you. Okay? If you are having to say no to somebody at work, all right, and somebody's saying, can you do this, and can you do this, and can you do this, then, you know, say to them, actually, I've got this, and I've got this, and you're asking me to do that, so which is the priority? All right? Or perhaps you're saying, I've got this, and I've got this. So if I do that, one of these will have to give. Okay? Or you just say, no, I've got a lot on right now. No, I've got deadlines and I won't be able to meet that for you. Because that earns respect. It earns respect when people then see you and hear you saying, being honest, being factual. This is the bit about saying no. Without excuses, but be factual. It isn't about just going no and looking like you're in a mood or that you're obstructive. But be factual. I've got this going on, I've got this going on. You know, I've got this deadline and this deadline. No, I'm not doing this because. All right? Saying no is huge. It really clears the way. When I teach people and get them really, really comfortable in saying no, you know, the way that it sounds like it's not a very big thing, but it has a massive impact on people's lives. Massive. Okay? Set really clear boundaries. I talk about this such a lot, you know, to the point where people keep calling me, you know, the boundary queen. Clear boundaries between work and home. Clear definition between work and home. I have people that come to me that say, somebody in particular used to come to me and used to say, well, I'm always kind of on my phone, or even when I'm sat at home with the wife and the kids and I'm thinking about work and things like that, to the point where the family knew that he was doing that. And they used to put in random little things in the conversation to see if he picked up on it. You know, they used to talk about, I don't know, like naked women or pink flying elephants or something like that, to see if he picked up on the fact that they were saying this in the middle of the conversation, which I think is just hilarious. And I do it myself sometimes. But if you are constantly thinking about work, even when you're at home, then, you know, you need to get a little bit of help with that, because that's going to leave you really, really stressed. You know, or perhaps anxious, and there's something perhaps going on within you about that feeling of, you know, obligation or the need that maybe could do with a little bit of looking at. All right, so get those really clear boundaries. You know, have a work phone if you can, so that you can switch it off and leave it. This is something I encourage my husband to do, and he encourages people in his office to do that too. So that you can keep those clear boundaries, and you can leave that work phone there when you're out with the family, or you're out with your mates, or wherever you are at the weekends and evenings, right? So that you've got clear boundaries. So that you're not answering emails in the evening, so that you're not constantly checking that phone on a morning. Speaking of phones and contraptions, leave them downstairs. Don't take them up to bed with you at night. You know, it's really not good for the kind of vibes and the waves that go around. So it's not good for your quality of sleep, which is another crucial factor. but leave your phone downstairs. So that the first time I look at my phone, is pretty much about 7:15 after my daughter's gone out to school, maybe 7:30, when I've gone downstairs on a morning. Okay, and I might have a glance at it just to make sure there's no, big emergency, and then I leave it while we have breakfast and I sort out my daughter for the day. Leave your phone downstairs, okay, because that stops some of that stress and anxiety that's going on. It really helps on your mental health, okay. So those are some things that can really help you. Obviously, I'm going to say to you, relaxation and meditation, or self-hypnosis, or, one of my hypnosis tracks are going to be really, really good for you. They give you 10, 15, 20 minutes of time when you just shut off. It takes practice. That's why it's called practicing meditation. I don't need to be, patronising, but it is. It takes practice. Some days you'll be better at it than others. Some days it will be easier to kind of switch off than others. That's fine. It doesn't mean you go, oh, that's it, I'm now going to be good at this. You don't see people going to the gym, when they haven't quite managed to lift as many weights as they did last week going, oh, well, I won't do it anymore. Or somebody that's, we've just had York Marathon. You don't see somebody that's, whatever with their time or didn't feel quite as energised when they run it, go, oh, that's it, I'm not running anymore. They keep doing it. Okay, and our function and our ability varies. And your function and ability with your relaxation, with meditation or hypnosis will vary. And that's okay. Actually, it's an indicator of how you are. So use it as a great big sort of flag that waves at you. All right? If you want some meditation, some self-hypnosis, some tracks, go to the top of the page, link through to my website, and you can get some from there. Okay? Because as well, what it does is it provides a whole relaxation. When we're really tense and stressed, we're kind of like this. People hold it in the shoulders, they get funny backaches and things like that. So we do hold that stress and tension in our bodies. And this allows it to kind of relax and to drain away. All right? So that it can get rid of all that body tension as well. So some of those funny niggles and aches and pains, they're not good for us. When we're hunched over the computer all the time, or even hunched over our phones all the time, we've got that forward-leaning tension and things, and it's all in this area often. Okay? So shrug your shoulders a little bit. Make sure you're sitting upright. Push your shoulders back. Feel that tension release. And have a little bit of relaxation. Or just imagine you're doing it from the top of your head to the tip of your toes, that you just sit back in your chair for a couple of minutes. Okay? What can you do if you are in an office, if you are running an office? Well, you encourage them to take a break, take that lunch break, as I've just said. You invest in your staff. Wellbeing's massive in some of the bigger corporate companies, and whether it is in yours or not. If you're a manager, you can encourage this. Encourage people to take a break. Encourage people to get the opportunity to step away from their desk. Okay? Listen to people and really listen. So what I hear a lot is that some people go to their managers, if they have the courage to go to their managers, because again, we've got that stigma that I talked about. If they have the courage to go to their managers and then they get their phrases, their feelings, that whatever they're saying, they get it dismissed. If somebody says to you, I feel like I'm struggling, okay, or I feel that that's a criticism, or I feel that I'm not doing very well, whatever they say that's about the feeling, I think this. If you then go, oh no, don't be silly, or that's not what I meant at all, then you're dismissing what they're saying, and then they're going to shut down and they're not going to say it because they're going to feel like they're not being heard or not being understood. So even if it is that that's not what you meant and that's not how you want them to feel, you have to stop and recognise that is how they feel, that is how they are thinking. So if you're a manager of staff, just take a moment. When they're talking to you, if you're kind of going and want to jump in over the top of them and, take a breath. Just take a big deep breath and keep listening. And then recognise that even if that's not what you meant, and even if that's not how you want them to be, that is how they feel, and they've taken the courage to speak to you. you know. All right? So don't dismiss those feelings with a kind of oh no thing. All right? Staff well-being is hugely important because it reduces the sick time, it increases value in that staff, in the self, you know, they will think much better of you if you want to look at it personally, and they will think and feel much better about themselves. Again, clear boundaries between work and home, encourage that for them. So I've just mentioned about having, you know, separate mobile phones or different things like that. Encourage that. Encourage them to switch their phone off. Encourage them to leave those emails, those messages and things like that until the next working day. Because as well as advocating it for yourself, you can encourage that for other people as well. Have that teamwork. Recognise now, whatever company you're in, you know, when I was in the big corporate companies, we did have an office where we all came in and worked together. And that teamwork was hugely supportive. Hugely important. You know, we could all kind of sit together and go, oh my God, he's in a right mood today. You know, he's really, you know, he's on one or whatever about the boss. And we had that camaraderie, you know, laughing, having fun, having people to talk to really releases the stress and tension. All right. So find a way to have that teamwork. There's so much around these days. I talk to people remotely on video conferencing calls, you know, where we can see everybody's picture and we can talk together. So it's not the same as you know, face-to-face contact, but it can plug some gaps there. Find a way to make it happen, to have that teamwork, because that's about support. And when you've got like-minded people that are kind of around you, that they support you, they lift you up and they keep you going. All right, so think about that. It means that pressures and deadlines and things, that you've got support, you've got encouragement. If you're having a rough day, if somebody's been a bit, you know, arsey with you, then, you know, you can talk to somebody again, so that you're doing the listening, you're doing the understanding, and you're being supportive in that way. So encourage that, because you know, that teamwork is being lost in the way that we work in our industries now. Okay, so I really hope that some of these things are important to you, that they've resonated with you about some of the ways that you can begin to function just a little bit differently, to keep those stress levels down, to keep the anxiety down. If you do need to seek help, then please go and do it. I'm not saying any of these ways are right and wrong, but there are lots of ways. So you can come to hypnotherapy, you can go to coaching, you can seek counselling, you can go to your GP. You know, maybe your work has some well-being support and things there as well. So begin to talk about mental health. You know, there's lots around the mental health. I could go on for ages and ages about this. You know, talk to your children, talk to your staff, talk to your colleagues, talk to your spouse, to your partners, to your friends. Talk about it, because, you know, talking about it is huge. It's really helpful. And what you find is that sometimes you get other people that go, oh God, yeah, I feel like that too. And you're a bit like, oh, right. Oh God, I thought they looked kind of all together. So don't keep it all in, because you'll be surprised at how many people will struggle from time to time with things. Okay. So I really hope that this has been helpful for you. If it has, leave me some comments. If you want more questions, put questions in at the bottom, or message me if you've got any further questions, and let me know if there's any one of these that you think, yeah, that's really great, and I'm going to start doing that. Because I do lots of helpful advice for people all the time, which is fine. But if you're just going to sit and listen to this and then go away and carry on as normal, you might as well have not bothered. So tell me which one thing here that you've taken away, or which one thing that you're going to put in place in your day, in your work, or in your office, because I'd really love to know. Okay? Bye for now.